Well, hello and welcome to another episode of Chats with Chelsi. I am so grateful you joined today because you are hearing from someone that I've known probably for about 10 years. We grew up together at church and we have seen each other just go and fulfill God's will for our lives. And so I'm so excited to introduce to you a friend. She's a dancer. She is a Christ follower, lover of Christ. She is a newlywed as well as an expecting mom. So, ladies, join me in welcoming Tiffany Herndon. Tiffany, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
I feel like, we're kind of like doing a catch up and we're just kind of letting the
Mhm.
world in on our chat today.
Yeah,
Um, but
pretty much.
I am so looking forward to it. You have been doing so many awesome things. So, let's start off with just tell us a little bit about yourself, your upbringing. You and I met at Faith Christian Center, which is now Impact Church. Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, well, I'm a military brat. My dad actually was stationed in Jacksonville, one of the last places we were stationed, and we moved from Pensacola, Florida. And we kind of got connected with some friends who went to Faith Christian Center at the time. And we went there and had a dynamic youth ministry and met some amazing people like Chelsi. And just seeing how God was able to use us just growing up, those, trials and tribulations, high school, college, all those things, really finding out who we were. And they were very instrumental. And yeah, that's where we were. That's where we all met and started figuring out what we were actually good at and what our purpose was, I should say.
Yeah.
And within college, I know as well as other people have had many, like, either stepping stones or many, like, lessons learned when it comes down to, what you're called to do, what your purpose is and things like that. And I had always been in the arts, whether that was doing plays or doing any type of dancing.
Mm-hmm.
And really got connected with some awesome people in Jacksonville with a Rhythm Nation dance company, as well as Megamind Productions, doing a lot of plays with them and really honing in on my craft and really surrounding myself around people who had the like mind of the arts with me.
Mm-hmm.
And it really cultivated my gifts even more. With that, I was able to do a lot of choreography, was a part of the Impact Dance Ministry,
Mm-hmm.
and helping out with youth dance and just really finding myself in scripture, as it were, where, in Psalms when it talks about, praising God with the timbrel and the trumpet, and it's like, wow, like I'm on the front lines in the arts, so that's where I found myself, and that's where I am still currently, and
Mm-hmm.
just enjoying that, of course, adulting, but surrounded in the arts and keeping my purpose and my focus and just staying in my lane. And that's just rewarding just to know that God is even allowing that.
So awesome, so many different nuggets in just what you just shared, and so I want to unpack that a little bit. And so
Yeah.
you talk about purpose and you said it several times, and I love it because that's a huge part of what Chats with Chelsea is all about, is empowering people to really women leaders to live out their purpose. And you talked about youth ministry, getting involved, but how did you know that your purpose was in the arts arena? Like what confirmed that for you? What were those signs? What was that awareness for you to get to that place to even know that arena was where God was calling you?
Yeah, it for me, I actually auditioned for Douglas Anderson in the 10th grade, and I had always been dancing at home and barbecues and things like that. It was just something that I really liked to do.
Okay.
And but DA actually didn't get in because I was used to at home, like getting down. What you mean? I need tights. These are my stockings from home. So and I was in color guard, marching band, and things like that. And I just remembered that invigorating rush I would get every time I would either hit the field or hit a dance floor or hit a stage. And I was asked by our youth minister, Minister Rhonda Crawford at the time, and Minister Bamana Larson to help with a dance around my junior or senior year, I forget. And she's like, yeah, I know, I'm trying to get a little dance together and things like that. And before I knew it, I took over. And I was like, oh man, I'm overstepping my boundaries. But it was just something that was so easy. And the things that I exposed myself to, the excitement I felt just being around people who did it. And that, when my spirit started leaping, when I got around that, I was like, this is it. Like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And it's so funny you should ask that, because God gave me such a revelation about that earlier this week. I'm in a play now, and I remember a girlfriend of mine that I met up here. She asked me to sell some kind of product or some kind of service. And it was a product and service that I like. Like, yeah, I like pecans. Like, yeah, or I can, be a part of that. But it wasn't something that sparked a passion in me. But yet when I saw an audition, I was like, no questions asked, go, and when you get that type of feeling, like, you shouldn't ignore that. Like, those were the type of things that, like, confirm that this is what you're supposed to be doing. Unfortunately, growing up, you're not always equipped, like a lot of people who have the resources to go to classes or to be exposed to even theater. I think the first time I ever went to a play was, I think my godmother, Adrian, took me, and I was acting so ratchet, like, yeah, okay, yeah. So it's just like, being exposed and not being so closed-minded to things really opened up my heart and really helped me to see, like, Tiffany, this is what sparks joy in you, not the Marie Kondo sparks joy with cleaning, but it's just like, wow, like, I recognize that this is something that is, I'm not saying it comes easy, but this is where my natural bend is, and being comfortable in that lane, because the arts is so up and down, and everybody wants to dance or everybody wants to be in this particular field, but you have to know that this is what I'm bringing in, and that's what I recognize. I'm like, yeah, I didn't have all the resources, yeah, I don't do this, but I can't ignore the things that got implanted in me at such a young age. It's more refined now, but it's like those things. I was like, man, I remember being in the second grade doing this, and oh man, I do remember being in seventh grade and just watching these videos of these dance teams just going off, and that's where my choreography brain came from, and just seeing how directors do their thing, and how, wow, dancing is kind of like acting because it's for this scene, and all those things jumbled together. And again, once I found myself in scripture at that point, I'm like, yeah, this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
So tell us, 10th, 11th grade, you auditioned for Douglas Anderson, which, for those who don't know, in Jacksonville, that is a performing arts school. At least that's one of the things that they specialize in. And, so you're at this place and you're seeing, you're seeing these things around you that are pointing you towards arts. You also mentioned that during the audition that you didn't get in. How did that affect you following purpose?
Oh, I stopped dancing for a year or two.
Wow.
Because I was like, I thought this is what I was supposed to be doing. And by standards, that wasn't it. I couldn't go to ballet class when I was younger. Like, it just wasn't a factor, or even something I felt like I could ask as a child, because I'm like, we couldn't afford it, And I come in there and, I'm reading all the stipulations on what I need for my audition. They were like, you need, like I said before, tights, you need leotard, hair pull back, ballet shoes. I had some jazz shoes for my color guard audition in the 8th grade. I had on some support hose as my tights. Like, I was looking real, for real. And when I didn't get in, well, let me scratch that. I did get in because they loved my English grades. I was really good at writing and things, and they wanted to let me in, but I wasn't looking at that. I was like, I'm trying to dance. Like, what do you mean? And
Okay.
so someone said, well, you still could get in and minor in dance. Had no idea how it worked. All I heard was that I did not get in, and so I stopped dancing, which is brings me back to earlier when I was saying, like, Minister Rhonda Crawford and Minister Bamana Larson asked me to come choreograph something, and I was like, man, I haven't done this in a while, but it came back so fast that, again, by the world standards, it's like they'll tell you no, that you don't get in by our stipulations, but I still ended up getting back on track, thank God, just by people probing me, asking me questions, and me being open. Yeah.
That's so amazing. And I think it's so important for women all over the world to hear that and to be reminded that there will be closed doors, there will be failures and disappointments, and that's a part of our journey. And it'll look different for how that plays out for each of us, but it's just a part of the journey. And whatever it is that God has called you to do, no disappointment, rejection, failure, disappointment is going to be able to keep you from where He wants you to be. So that's so awesome. So, arts community, here's my question. I think when I think about the arts community, unless you are this award-winning actress on the big screen, or a dancer who's been on Broadway or something like that. Well, I don't know if dancers are on Broadway, but nevertheless, here's my question before I start like making up stuff. Did you ever have any fears about doing art full time, knowing that following your passion, following your purpose, knowing that possibly in the beginning that financially it may not produce the most amount of money?
Absolutely. When I got in college, probably one of the biggest hangups I had, I took a break after 2 years after attending the University of North Florida, because I was like,
Go Osprey!
Yes, flying. But I was like, I know I need to be in the arts, and UNF is such an academic school. They didn't really have any arts things, unfortunately. So I ended up going to FSCJ, and I had a lot of friends that said, yeah, after FSCJ, then I go to Jacksonville University for 2 years to finish up, my degree in dance, whatever. So I'm like, yes, that sounds like a plan, So I go to FSCJ, audit a bunch of classes, and prepare myself to audition for JU. Still didn't get in. Same issue with DA was the same thing I had for JU. And they let me in academically, but as far as the dancing goes, it didn't work out. But the thing that even helped me to be like, oh, you did me a favor, it's a private institution, Jacksonville University. So I was like, I ain't trying to do that student loan. So I was like, okay, well, I'll go on to the next thing. And just lucratively speaking, you're in your mid-20s and you're trying to really establish yourself. I wish I could be the type of person to say, like, oh, I was called to be a doctor or a pediatrician, a lawyer, something that's going to sustain myself. And it's so much fear surrounding around, the arts, saying that, you can't support yourself. You're either, I actually take some classes down in the Fourth Wall. It's an institution called the Fourth Wall in downtown Nashville. And one of my professors always talks about either you're the rich of the rich or you're scum,
Oh, wow. Scum.
Queen, one day you can be at the top of your game because you booked a job that's continuous, that's consistent, or you're, auditioning all the time, still trying to, hustle your way in to, get that chance for you. And that's probably one of the biggest things. Like, if you're successful in it, you're very successful. But if you're not and you're still hustling, it's just, yeah, I'm going to have to work full time. I'm going to have to, fund my dream while I'm pushing for my dream. So getting a job for that, it could be very discouraging because, I mean, yeah, if we had all the time in the world, like a lot of, actors and a lot of celebrities who can devote their entire day to honing in on their craft, like, yeah, that'd be great. But, I got to get money so I can pay my bills, so I can then, and, fund my dream, fund those things I'm passionate about. So it's definitely a continual, like, struggle. I want to do this and all this other stuff. But, when Sally Mae came a knocking, it's like,
She
I'm
wants her
coming.
money. Yeah, she
You
she,
want money,
she
I was like, I can't feed you with my potential, my dreams. That wasn't happening.
you so well, first off, I mean, I just love your transparency and your honesty of what I mean, what it's like, and the different thoughts and fears and concerns that have crossed your mind. Um, and, so daytime job to feel the dream. I mean, there are tons of women who have a passion for something, who feel called for something. But what's been on the inside of you, Tiff, that has allowed you to really push yourself, though, to keep going, knowing, the ups and downs of your industry?
um, I would have to say, like, I forget who told me this, but it's like, what are those things that you would do and you wouldn't get paid for it? And one of those things is it's the arts. Like, if I never got paid for it,
Wow.
I would do it. In Jacksonville, I was able to be a part of Theater Jax, a part of a production to Kill a Mockingbird, and just to see the drive that, what, God, I'm not the only one who loves this arts world. I'm not the only one studying lines and, taking notes and doing this for free. You do it because you love it. You do it because there's something, I feel like there's something that's going to be missing if I don't do it. So,
Wow.
yeah, it's like, you can either you can't chase a paycheck when you do it. It's great, when that check does finally come, to do something. But is that really going to stop you from chasing after your ultimate dream? I still face challenges now where, I'm very active in acting and everything, but when you scroll on social media, you see so many great people doing great things. It's like, maybe I should try that, or maybe I should, like, invest in a camera and, just model there, or, try to do all this other stuff to
Mm.
deem myself as successful, but to be doing something, because a lot of times people don't see behind the scenes of that picture.
Right.
They don't behind the scenes of, your disappointments, your I'm up all night, the I'm crying because I'm not able to do those things that I really want to do yet. And it's like staying in your lane and realizing I can rejoice with other people and their God-given talents doing what they're doing, but also realizing in the industry that I'm in and industry of many others, just because people can't see it or you can't really have a real yourself of all the great and awesome things that you're doing, that you are doing something.
Mm-hmm.
You're going hard after your passion and your purpose. So
I love what you just said, Tiff, because it's something that's like really important to me about social media and us seeing other women and us being able to celebrate other women, but also, using a word, staying in our lane, because so many times we find ourselves we find ourselves comparing ourselves to the people and to the highlight reels of what we see on social media, not knowing that we only see their glory, but we don't know the full story of what's going on. And so I appreciate you you saying it, because I say it all the time to people who watch, but you saying that, and how and how that works there, how it works in your arena in the arts, and so I really, really appreciate that, just because it's something that so many, I would say millennial, I think it's a really big thing, for millennials, because we grew up with Facebook and those who came behind us. I mean, I remember Facebook came out the year I went to the University of North Florida.
Right.
And I don't know if you remember, but back in the day, it was only for college students because it was supposed to be the key.
Yeah.
And, now, there's kids like 5 and 6 with cell phones and they're on Facebook and Instagram. Yeah. And I can only imagine, and my husband and I, we talk about this, about one day when we decide, if we decide to have kids, that we have to be reminded that we have to raise our kids differently because the world they live in is differently. And so with my whole little spiel, I think that's a great segue. So you are married, you're expecting. Tell us about what this journey's been like. You're 6.5 months pregnant. I mean, you have the glow. Tell us.
Yeah. Well, after my husband and I got married, one of our biggest things that we talked about was, what type of family legacy that we wanted to have.
Oh, that's good.
I remember sitting down while we were dating and just talking about how we grew up. And even how, as I mentioned earlier, I would never ask my parents for money for ballet lessons. I just would never do it, just because I was old enough and conscious enough to know, like, we can't afford this, and when we started having those conversations about our baby girl who isn't even here yet, the type of life that we wanted to provide for her. And so we started talking about our, whole debt-free thing, and just knowing that, having a little one coming up and wanting to give her so much and loving her just as much as, well, I've experienced some of it, but I'm like, when she gets here, I'm like, okay, I'm really gonna, like, turn on a couple of, motherly instincts, but just want to, give her those opportunities. Like, I look forward to just looking at her and seeing where her bent is. Maybe her bent won't be the arts. Maybe it'll be sports. Maybe it'll be science. But whatever it is, I know we as parents are going to dive in to cultivate that gift and to nurture it. And it's great just to know, I'm like, yeah, we can do ballet lessons because Sally Mae's calling me no more.
Wow. So something that some people may know, but or may not know, you and your husband in 18 months paid off $71,000 of debt. Tiff, how did you do it? How did you stay disciplined? How did that conversation even come up? Was it doing as you were thinking about the legacy of your family? Tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, when we were thinking about the legacy of our family, we actually tried a plan or two of our own before we ultimately ended up using Financial Peace University with Dave Ramsey. My husband was big on, I'm not throwing him under the bus when I say but we were, when we first got married, we were like, okay, yeah, let's just use our credit cards for our bills, and then we'll rack up the rewards cash we earn, pay the bill off at the end of every month, and that'll be it. That's how we do things. And we both had 2 different financial languages, and he definitely had that. Me, on the other hand, I'm like, I was a little bit more conscious of the things that I spend my money on. So I was like, okay, we can do this. And I started having fun. I was like, okay, swipe. But when we sat down and really started Financial Peace University, Dave Ramsey really talked about doing a $0 budget where every dollar had a home and every dollar had a purpose. So we went from our monthly spending bill of between $5,000 and $6,000 to, our bills are only $3,500. Where is this money going? We could really be saving this stuff. And we had both had been making, good work, good money and things like that. But when we sat down and really, looked at our bills and everything, we got completely on board. My husband had just got a car, and I remember making a post about it. I'm like, oh, sweetheart, I'm so proud of you. And I really was, because he had this little grease lightning car that kept giving him trouble. And it was just not, working.
Right.
And when we got the car, I was like, man, I'm so proud of you. But to see my husband sacrifice, we ended up selling that same car. I just praised God about it,
Really?
to pay off, more debt. And I'm like, that right there was 12,000. And it was a very hard lesson because I'm like, we just paid $18,000 for this car and only got 12 back, depreciating value. So that was a firsthand lesson there. Both my husband and I got part-time jobs. He was teaching kickboxing on the side, and I was, teaching dance lessons, taking clients for pageants, and all this other stuff, side hustles coming in, and we just stopped, just the unnecessary spending. We said no a lot, and again, that was something that we didn't post about. We didn't post about that journey.
Mm-hmm.
You only see the post of we did it, but it was hard. Like I remember us arguing over how much money I spent on groceries. Like it was, it was so bad. But it was 18 months of hard work that we got to experience together that no one else got to see, and it brought us together. Yes, about money, the bottom line. Yes, about you getting your finances in order, but it brought my relationship with my husband and I so much closer because we were in the struggle together.
That's
We
good.
could do some things lavishly, and we were like, you know what, delayed gratification is where it's going to end up, being. And it took 18 months of sacrifice, and we were only married for I think 6 months when we first got started.
Wow. Y'all were
And newly
newlyweds.
newlyweds. So it was like, oh man, again, I was like, we arguing over groceries. Lord, I don't know. Did we do the right thing? So we had a very honeymoonish 6 months, but when we got started, that freedom, it's like, yeah, like this is what God needed us to do, not only to get our money in order, but for us to even grow closer and for us to cultivate our friendship even more. So it was great.
That's good. Well,
Mhm.
congratulations on paying off the debt. Major congratulations on struggling with your spouse. I think that it's so important. John and I have been married for 3 years this year, and we've had times where we have struggled, and we've had to do with less, and we're in one of those seasons now. And it's the beauty in it is that I think we're so much closer. I mean, we already talked about a lot of stuff, but it's like, okay, we're in this together for God's purpose to be fulfilled in our lives for this season and for what He wants us to do. And so, listen, I can't compare my story to yours because you did 18 months. But I am, and I do want to encourage others out there who may be married and struggling, that you can see it solely as a struggle, or you can see it as an opportunity to become closer, more intimate with your spouse and with God, because it's like, if God is the center of your relationship, it brings you closer together, but also closer to God. And so, that's great. And then, okay, 71,000, you took a loss with the car because, as you said, the car depreciated, and so that was 6 grand, from when you all had just bought the car, and you kept going. What did you tell yourself, though, Tiff? What did you and your husband Trey tell yourself, not only with the argument about the grocery, but just in those like super tough moments when it's like, well, we paid off half our debt, or wherever you were, and saying, hey, we can do this a little bit more slowly instead of going so hard. What did you tell yourself to keep going?
We had to tell each other daily. For me, it was always listening to podcasts about, from Dave Ramsey, from Susie Orman, from anybody I can get my hands on, to realize that I'm doing this for the long haul. And often praying and asking God even for wisdom, because even as a woman, as a wife, I guess sometimes I may have felt like, I'm women in and of ourselves. I'm not saying we're more high maintenance. I would say when it comes to getting your hair done, nails did, all those things. We are a little bit more higher than men need some money every 2 weeks to get a haircut.
Right.
So, so it's just like there were certain things I sacrificed. I was like, I was doing my own nails, doing my own, seeing what I could, roll with in my closet for, myself, just to see how I can work with what I had. When we started praying together and, declaring, how our life would be, it was hard because even at the same time, I was finishing up my 4-year degree from Florida State College at Jacksonville. And I ended up graduating that December. And when we started, declaring, how our lives would be, all of a sudden my salary went up with another job opportunity. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's, that extra money can just go towards the debt. And then my husband got another job that just, it started going up. And I was like, wow, like God's making, he's working with, the things that you're creating with your, your words.
Right.
And you trust us, with our talents and knowing that we're not going to hide it away so we won't lose anything. It's like, wow, God can trust us with so much more that we are able to give and that we are able to, invest and do those things now. We do have, an emergency fund, and it's not just I have a credit card for an emergency fund. Like, no, go to the bank and just get the money out. I wish that, I can show off and stun like, yeah, look at my Mercedes. No, I don't. I can't, funds there to be able to, maybe let's go out to eat versus we ain't going nowhere because we got to pay this car note, this, whatever. And it was just revelation to me, just wanting to do our best with God's funds and with God's money. And now we're able to, treat ourselves a lot more and everything. And even at the same time, we didn't have a lot of support when we did it. Some people were like, y'all are too controlling. Y'all just got married. Why are you worried about that? Why are you doing this? And we had friends coming in, like trying to take up for us. And, the saying goes, first they laugh and then they copy, So a lot of the people who were, pointing the finger, they're now on top of those things as well with Dave Ramsey.
Wow.
And program that they decide to use. I just know that's what worked for us. And I really hope that other people can do that as well. It's like, you can do so much, and, God wants you at that wealthy place, and he wants to even give you more, but it's like, are you showing yourself and giving yourself an opportunity to show that you can be trusted with those funds to not only multiply, but also to give when that time is, needed. So it's been good.
I mean, I think you just stepped on some toes, especially as you talk about us being reminded and accountable to the funds that God has given us, that stewardship piece. It's so, well, again, I just have to say congratulations because you all exuded a confidence that I think so many people, confidence and discipline that so many people want to have, but you all did it. And I just appreciate your honesty, though, in sharing with the Chats with Chelsi family that it did get, in my words, it did get kind of dirty and tough at times. Like, this wasn't just 18 smooth selling months. They were 18 months that were totally worth it. But they were tough. And so I appreciate that you sharing. I mean, you just sharing. I'm just, I'm sitting here and, as we started off, we're catching up, but I'm just so honored and just so amazed just to hear and to be chatting with someone who's just like, God first. I'm putting God first in purpose, putting God first in my family, putting God first in my finances. And I just want to commend you, Tiff, for just putting God first.
Yeah, it's been, I've been with God through my highest of highs and my lowest of lows, and he's just been so consistent and such a friend that is there every single time. And I couldn't make any moves without him. So I do give all glory to him because I honestly would have lost my mind a long time ago when it came to finances, to purpose, to trying to, start our family, like everything, I just owe him everything.
So as we close out, what is your advice to young aspiring women who want to dance, who want to be in the arts industry, yet find themselves similar to how you grew up where, those extra funds are just not there for the classes? What would you tell them?
Um, Definitely getting a part of a community. One of the things that helped me when I didn't have the funds, I remember being in ballroom dancing, just going to a lot of free lessons, going to a lot of, free parties. Um, it was small seeds, and I was like, oh, I'm just being cheap. Like, nah, like those are still things I still remember. Even I was so thankful for Florida State College at Jacksonville, because when I was going there were some classes that I could pay for, but other professors there let me audit. I was there doing all the work, doing everything that was expected of me. I just didn't get college credit for it.
Mm.
And just for them to see my heart behind it, I'm like, yeah, I'm wasting my time. Yeah, I'm in traffic trying to take a class that I get nothing for. But when you love something, nothing's going to stop you from being a part of that. Um, Also, there's some awesome people out there who started their own, dance companies, their own acting classes, their own stage plays, things like that. They've done those things, and nothing's going to stop you. Someone's like Douglas Anderson or like JU or whoever can't stop you from, they can't see your full potential. They don't know your whole story. It doesn't stop with their approval. It doesn't stop with, someone in that industry who's amazing telling you no. The only person that can stop you is you. So I think,
So
you
good.
know, be, be humble in how you get the, information, but be open. Be open to taking those free classes. Be open. I may not be able to take a class with Debbie Allen or Fatima Robinson or anybody like that. But you know what? My homegirl from down the street, we love, and we like getting together. We love that's why I'm so grateful for people in Jacksonville like Caven Grant, like Jeremy Rackett and Sam Hills, who, you know, we didn't have these big name contracts. We didn't have these big name people we're working with. It was just a bunch of people coming together to dance and to act because we love doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Find those people and cultivate yourselves together. Don't try to do it on your own. Like, well, I don't have the support. You have the support. Get out there and do it.
Tiff, what can we expect from you next?
Well, I'm actually in my 6.5 months pregnant self. I'm actually in a play called Chosen with Living Parables Ministry in Nashville, Tennessee. We actually have a production on from April the 11th through the 13th,
Okay.
and I'm doing that right now. Can't dance too much right now. I still get down after little baby girl has been evicted. I'll just get back into it, but still in the art, still cultivating that gift, and just excited to be a part of just a great screenplay and some great people.
Well, I am excited. One to one day meet baby girl Herndon and see, as you were sharing where her bendings is. It's just so refreshing to hear though that no matter where her leanings are, wherever God's calling her, that you and your husband are going to support her. And then excited for the play that you're in. Tiff, if people want to contact you, how do they reach out to you?
Yes, you can reach me by, my social media for Instagram. I'm more prone to answering that faster. My name is Tiffers11, Tiffers11. If you do find me on Facebook, you can DM me. I have a lot of unread messages, but you can find me there. You can also reach me by email at tiffanyherndon8@gmail.com.
Well, Tiffany, I appreciate the time that you shared with me and baby girl Herndon, because she's on here as well. Thank you for sharing a part of your day with me, but most importantly, for sharing, being honest and transparent and sharing your journey with the Chats with Chelsi family, fellow women leaders. Thank you, thank you, thank you for joining me for this episode.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Well, Chats with Chelsi family, thank you so much for tuning in. So excited that you got to meet my friend, fellow church member, and fellow world changer, Tiffany Herndon. Be sure to reach out to her, follow her if you have questions, and have a great day. I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.